Hello there, everybody, and welcome aboard a new episode of Cinema Scene, the little thing that we do when we have a movie that we've gone and watched and want to talk about. Yes, this is, of course, the Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood podcast. My name is Dan.
And I'm Frankie.
Yes, aka Dan Legs and Frankie Legs. Or something like that. So yeah, a while back, this silly little movie called Longlegs, you were telling me about it, and I was like, what the hell is Longlegs? Is it another spider movie? Because there's been so many of those.
I know, I was so excited about this, and I'm like, new Osgood Perkins movie. This is going to be like the best movie of, well, not the best movie. It was my most anticipated movie of the year. And then everyone's just like, okay. And so I was really happy when the marketing campaign started and people started getting excited.
And you had to remind me who Osgood Perkins was, because I was like, what's an Osgood Perkins? And you're like, Black Coat Store, or February as we call it over here. And I was like, aha, yes, I've seen that one. And that was the only one of his
Was that in the stack that I gave you?
It was. Yeah.
I thought I remembered that was one of those 10 or however many I gave you that I'm like, these are the films you must see.
I really enjoyed that film. So I was like, oh, okay. And then, so the marketing campaign for this film didn't really say much. And I was like, what kind of horror movie is this? Is it like a haunted house sort of a thing or whatever? Like, you couldn't really tell from the start. And then then we sort of found out that it's a serial killer FBI agent movie. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then, upon its release, of course, everybody is just raving about this film, and I got really, really excited. I know that you were trying desperately to avoid the hype, which was difficult, especially because I saw it before you, and I'm just like, oh my God, this movie. And it is now my number one film of the year. Would you say it's your number one at this point, or?
Undecided.
Okay, fair enough. The film stars Micah Monroe, Nicolas Cage, mostly. I mean, we got people like Blair Underwood and Alicia Witt in it, but who cares about them? Because, it's mostly, we're here for Micah and Nick. She plays an FBI agent who has a degree of psychic ability. She gets put onto this cold case that started in the 70s with this killer who's been going around to houses where there's a young girl, and if it's her 9th birthday, within 6 days before or after the birthday, the family will be brutally slaughtered in what looks like a murder-suicide.
We probably should say at this point that we're going to go full spoilers, so don't listen to this if you have not seen the movie yet.
Well, do you reckon we should start off with non-spoilers and then we'll go spoilers?
Well, but you're already telling quite a bit of the plot that's not really...
Oh, this is just stuff that's out there everywhere on the internet now. No. This is not spoiler stuff. She gets put onto the case of this killer, and that's pretty much all I was going to say, because after that, it's kind of hard to really say too much without going spoilerific. But we can touch on this without spoilers, I think, just for a little bit, for those who are interested in our thoughts. I know it's going to be a challenge, and it's probably going to be about a minute and a half, but we can do this. I went in with pretty high expectations, and pardon me, this is one of those movies that actually surpassed my already high expectations. This is a movie that hit me in such a deep physical way. I mean, I was physically shaking by the end of the film. I remember when the third chapter came up, and I leaned to Kylie and I was like, I really need a break right now. And by the end of it, my hand was wobbling, like I just felt sick to the stomach, which I know I feel these things with horror movies more than you do, but you still really enjoyed it though, right?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. No, I just laugh when you say things like that, because yes, it's true, you feel things. You've sometimes given me horror movies to watch and talked up about how scary they are, and I'm just like fine with it. But I was laughing at this because I didn't feel that at all. Like I felt the atmosphere of it definitely wasn't close to shaking or needing a break. I was
Right,
at the
right.
other end, and mainly because of Nicolas Cage, but I just felt kind of glee that it was so good,
Yeah.
and like the way that Nick Cage performed and everything just made me really happy. So I kind of had that going along. I'm just like, oh, this is, just so good and dark and visuals and his performance and her performance and everything. So I just, and yeah, every time he was on stage, on screen, I had a big smile on my face. And
Longlegs, the musical, coming to you for
oh, yeah,
Broadway.
imagine if that was like a live performance in front of you, like in the room. If you were shaking from the
Yeah.
movie.
Actually, could that be done? I mean, there were no like really elaborate set pieces or
You
anything.
could
It
we could
was
maybe do some things with like projectors or whatever to kind of,
yeah,
do some
the
background
flashback stuff. Or,
visual things and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah. But no, look, yeah, you can laugh all you want. I am glad that I have that thing where I have
oh
that
yeah, I
connection with
wish
movies. Like,
movies got to me more
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's such a rare thing.
Yeah, because like the last movie that I felt almost on that kind of level was Talk to Me, which there were some scenes in that film that genuinely disturbed me. Not the whole overall film, but there were just parts of it. Whereas this one, it was the whole overall film that just really got way deep under my skin. I know the two films, obviously, everyone compares it to Silence of the Lambs and Seven. And I really do believe it belongs up there with those greats. But I thought this one was way scarier than those films. What do you think? Did you find it
Yeah,
scarier?
well, I think that it was just a very basic comparison. Like, it's about an FBI agent going after a killer. Oh, Silence of the Lambs. Oh, and set in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, but then I saw that video with like Osgood Perkins where he was talking about it, saying, obviously it's a similar thing, but he's not doing a remake of that. So obviously he just took that and then went and did his thing with it.
Oh, completely. I didn't feel that this movie imitated those ones in any way. This was a really unique experience. I loved how the flashbacks were done in, kind of like an old home projector sort of a, frame where it was like a 4:3 image with rounded corners, which I thought looked really good. I thought like the lighting and the coloring and everything, like the whole film sort of looked really desaturated in its color palette. And yeah, just a lot of the production design and everything. Like, when you're looking at Lee Harker, played by Micah Munro, when you're looking at her mum's house, how she was a hoarder, and everything, there was just so much clutter everywhere. And even Kylie noticed that, she was like, oh, wow, that just looks so visually cool. And yeah, I sort of just felt like, all of these set pieces and everything just looked so real. And, it was like I said in my written review, you could almost smell the interiors, like when you're in her mum's house, there's, because what a place like that smells like, and you sort of, yeah, you can kind of get that, distinction there. So yeah, there was a lot of great camera work and everything, but yeah, let's talk as much as we can without spoilers about that intro, because you were a big
Yeah,
fan, weren't you? The
I
opening scene, I should say.
because I didn't like I was hoping it would be amazing because I've liked his previous films. So, that's a good sign. Not a guarantee. Like, I've been burned before, like with Ari Aster. So
Yeah, yeah,
even if you like a director's films, it doesn't mean you will like everyone. And
exactly.
so I was worried about that and had good reviews. And so, it was getting hyped up so much, and I didn't want to buy into that and be disappointed. But then at the same time, I was hoping. But yeah, anyway, so straight away that opening happens, and kind of told me straight away that I didn't need to worry because it was going to be something amazing. Because that
Yeah, look,
opening was so good, and I was really annoyed because I went to the cinema on my own, so I had no one with me to have any kind of reaction to how
yeah,
good that
yeah,
opening
yeah.
was. Because that's where you'd turn to someone and just go, "What was that? That was amazing!" Because it went into the opening credits, so you'd have time to do that little interaction. But I was on my own, so I had to just sit there and just smile.
Oh, because that is exactly what I did. Where as soon as it cut to the opening titles and everything, yeah, I leaned over to Kylie and I said those exact words. I was like, best opening ever, because my God, it just unnerves you straight away. Like from the opening scene, it sets the tone for the whole film, and that's great. Like when you look at other films like Silence of the Lambs, it doesn't really do that. From memory, it's been a long time since I've seen that film, but I'm pretty sure it opened with Jodie Foster's character Clarice Starling running. I think she was jogging or something, and and it's sort of like, okay, like fair enough, we're introduced to the character, but it didn't really sort of set the tone of the film, whereas this one, it just throws you in the deep end straight away.
Yeah, so I'm most excited about seeing it again is that I can watch that opening again.
Yeah, I love that you and we're just so excited about watching this movie again as soon as humanly possible. And yeah, when this comes to, oh my God, I am buying the most expensive version of this film the day it comes to Blu-ray. Yeah, look, obviously right now we can't talk a lot about Nicolas Cage before we get to the spoilery stuff, but needless to say, I mean, yeah, Kylie didn't even recognize him. She knew Cage was in this film, but she didn't know who he was playing, and so of course, halfway through the film, she's like, "Oh my God, is that Nicolas Cage?" I was like, "Duh." But yeah, that performance. That was the main thing, I think, in this film that really got me. I know you said that you felt glee. I felt terror. I was just chilled. That police interrogation room scene where he's looking straight down the camera.
Did you have a reaction when she walked in? And I can't even remember what the line is now. Is it like "here she is" or something? And they had it in
Yes.
the teasers, and so when I
Yeah.
heard it and it like connected that was in the teaser, and now there's the context for it. Just the
Oh,
way he
yeah.
says that line and the way
And
he
I
speaks.
love that was the first time Micah Munro met Nicolas Cage. Like they kept the two of them apart. She never met him. She didn't know what he was going to look like. She didn't know anything about him. And so that moment where they like call action and she walks into the room, like her reaction there is real. And I didn't know that until after I'd seen the film. So I want to really rewatch it again
Yeah,
just so I
I've got
can
I've
watch
got a
that
list of
reaction.
a few things I have found out since of that I want to look for next time
Right,
I
right.
watch it. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
one of them.
But no, that bit where he's just staring down the barrel of the camera and his head's just tilting down with his eyes fixed to the lens, I'm just, it takes a lot for me to actually sit there in my seat and kind of squirm, like, but I felt unsafe, I was just, he brought to life one of the most terrifying movie villains I've ever
That
seen.
would have been funny if we had seen it together and you're like wanting to cower in your seat and I'm just sitting there with a big grin on my face.
It would have. And yeah, and there was one jump scare in the film that I almost broke Kylie's leg. Because I had my hand on her knee, and there's this one moment which we'll talk about later, but I freaking jumped so hard that like I squeezed her leg and nearly broke it, like, and we were kind of having a big laugh for a couple of minutes after that, because it's always funny when I get done by a jump scare. But no, that was a good one. But yeah, that being said, like, I mean, this film, it's not like a typical horror sort of a film with jump scares and all that sort of stuff. Like,
That's not how he makes films.
no, not at all. No, this was like slow and, well, okay, no, actually that was something that I wanted to talk about, because we didn't mention this in our main podcast episode where we sort of touched on this film, but there's all those reviews and people and everything that are referring to this film as a slow burner. I didn't get that. I actually didn't think this was a slow burner at all.
Well, I mean, I get why they're saying that because it's just kind of going along, following things before stuff starts happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of do get why
But
some people
some
might
people
say that.
think that a movie is slow if there's not jump scares and a lot of action going on.
Yeah, yeah. Like in a violent nature, to me, that was a slow burner because that's just watching a guy walking around from behind for a
No, but
long, long time.
that's not a slow burn, is it? Though that's
Oh,
just
it
slow.
is.
Because
Well,
doesn't
actually, yeah,
slow
that's a
burn
good
imply
point.
that it's just a slow
Yeah,
journey,
it didn't
but
really.
it builds and
Yeah, that's true. This one didn't burn at all. But yeah, with Longlegs, I was so engrossed in every single scene, in every frame of every scene that got to the end of it and I was like, oh man, that movie felt like it actually went really fast.
I
Um,
don't think slow burn. I think, I think I have a different idea of slow burn than you because I don't think it's a slow film. I think it's just the way of information is slow. Like
right, right.
just going and
Yeah, okay.
finding the clues and looking at stuff. And yeah, there's not a lot of action. There's no, yeah, it's not an action film. It's not full of
No.
scares and lots of, well, I mean, it is, but like jump scares and
Yeah.
really big things. It's like a quieter kind of movie, but not slow as in nothing happens because
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
slow
definitely not.
burn just to me means it takes its time getting there. It's not full on action the whole way through.
Right, right. Okay, all right. Yeah, no,
I don't know what
that
the
makes sense.
official technical proper like
Yeah,
meaning of it
definition.
is, but generally films like this would be called slow burns where it's just a type. It's not
Yeah.
like a negative thing. It's not just saying
Oh no, no,
the
I
movie
realize
is
that.
slow.
Yeah.
Like it's purposeful.
No, I get what you mean.
That's
But
what
yeah,
I think anyway. So
even by that definition, I don't know. Like maybe if I watch it again, I'll probably
I would
feel more
think it's a
because
slow burn because I do think it takes a while to build into, like it builds up as
yeah,
it
yeah.
goes along.
Maybe if I watch it again, knowing what's going to happen, I might feel it more there because, this first time around, I was just sort of sitting there like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens next, and I just had that excited feeling, I was excited through the whole film. So, yeah, maybe that's. Oh, and also the fact that I was drinking a Monster Energy drink while I was watching it, that probably actually more than anything had something to do with it. But anyway, this podcast is not sponsored by Monster Energy. However, if anyone from Monster Energy is listening right now and would like to sponsor us, please get in touch. Yeah. So and then of course there's the thing that everyone talks about with the third act that we can't really get into now, but there is a thing that a lot of people tended to have a problem with, that you and I definitely didn't have a problem with because it made the film more
Would you
interesting,
say a lot of people? I've
more than
seen
I would like
I've
to
seen a
have.
few, but I
Yeah,
haven't seen a lot of people mention it. I've
yeah,
seen
no, I
and
reckon it
I've
would be a
seen
lot.
people mention it that it's totally their thing and they were happy. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
but I
yeah.
mean
Don't get me wrong.
that's any movie. I just I'll get into it when we go
Yeah,
spoilery, so I can just say
but
it
yeah, but look, that
clearly.
I was very satisfied with the conclusion. I like the third act went more into sort of a horror genre than the rest of it. Like we kind of because for most of it, it was more you sort of I wouldn't say standard, but it was more of a detective killer chase kind of a film. Whereas the third act really, like owned its horror reputation. So yeah, but I was very happy with that. So yeah, no, look, overall, I couldn't fault the film by the time I got to the end of it. There is nothing I would have changed, nothing I would do differently. I thought every single facet of the creative process was absolute perfection. The performances were out of this world. I thought Micah Munro, the way that she played that character was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
I was reading a review and I was about to get annoyed at someone, but they pulled it back because they were talking about her performance been like they weren't into it and it was almost wooden and all of that.
Oh,
And then I was like, what? And then they're like, oh, I get it's by design. So I was like, so you do understand. So why did you say that? Like, that's
yeah.
the point. She is acting really well because she's playing that kind of personality.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I mean, it's funny when you look at interviews with Micah Monroe, like she's such a energetic, fun person,
Yeah,
so
well, just look at
vibrant.
a bunch of her other films.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, if you look at this one where she's this like just there's always something going on and you're always like, what is with her character? And yeah, she's got that sort of very timid sort of personality where she's always looking at the ground, and when she walks she doesn't move her arms. Like, I was picking up on all these little nuances, and I was just thinking, man, this is such a great performance. And I love that scene with the little girl, her partner's kid, where they're just having that extremely awkward conversation. I thought that was so brilliantly done. And then, when the kid's inviting her to her birthday, and like she's like, oh shit, what do I say? I thought that was just so cool. There was, yeah, God, there's so many things that I loved about this film. So yeah, no, I'm dying to see it again. Hopefully it won't be too long. So all right, well, I mean, that's a pretty good coverage of what we thought of it for like 20 minutes or so. So shall we get stuck into spoiler stuff?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not going to bother putting musical cues in this or anything like that. So yes, if you don't want to listen to spoilers about this film, we bid thee farewell. Yes, we will catch you next time. But for those of you who want to stick around right now, yes, we are about to get into the spoiler talk. Where do you want to start? Let's talk about that opening sequence, shall we? Like, yeah, what was some of the standout moments of
Oh
that
my
for
God.
you?
First of all, I'm really annoyed because I have the worst memory and it's
That's all
been
right.
days and days since I saw it. So
Mm.
if we'd recorded this at the time, I would have been able to talk forever about it. But now it's like one of those things, it's like going to a concert where it was so good and my brain was so stimulated by how good it was that it focused less on remembering for later. So I don't even remember all the details and all the things that made it so amazing, except it was just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way that Cage
Mm.
stood there and spoke to her, and
Mm.
the like the way the camera was and the snowy scene, and
Mm-hmm.
you had
Mm-hmm.
no idea what was going on and
That's the thing,
who was
yeah.
happening, and then it kind of builds and I don't even remember all the details of what happens, and then the camera pans up and then it just cuts off
Yeah,
and goes
well,
into the opening
yeah. So
credits.
in the opening, you've got Lee Harker as a little girl, but you don't know it's her. You don't really know what's happening. But she is at her mum's house, and she's got a Polaroid camera. She's going around taking photos, and
Oh wow, you
she.
really have all the details there.
Oh yeah, no, I remember it well. And she hears a noise behind her, and she turns around, and you just sort of see a figure behind the house, kind of like around, just peeking around the corner, that disappears. And so she goes to investigate, and like straight away, it's like, oh shit, what, like, don't do it, little girl. And so then, yeah, she's confronted by this man who's clad all in white with a sort of a vintage vest and stuff. Like, it was really interesting. And yeah, but that's when the voice starts. That's when Nicolas Cage just starts putting on that voice, which I'm not even going to try imitating, because that was just, oh my god, that performance. So yeah, he starts talking to her, and but then yeah, there's that moment where and he's asking her about her birthday and stuff, and there's that moment where he gets all excited and everything, and then like he sort of leans down a bit, and the camera just cuts away as you see his mouth and chin, because he's out of frame. His face is out of frame for the duration of it. And he kind of like screams or something, and that's when it like cuts to the titles and stuff, and it's just like, oh shit, that was heavy. That was like, that was really powerful stuff. And then yeah, so as we go on, we sort of learn that yeah, Lee Harker was that little girl, and she had taken a photo of him, and that was how the FBI wind up finding him is because she finds the photograph that she took when she was a kid. And that was actually one thing that I really dug about this film was the editing and the pacing. And that's another thing that added to the fast pace of the film for me was that, she has this photograph, and any other film may have done this whole big thing where they're, going through the computers and trying to find who he is and, doing all this stuff like, sending a team to his house. Oh my God, he's not there. Typical Hollywood stuff. Whereas this time around, it just cuts to him standing on the side of the road with his suitcase packed or whatever at a bus stop.
I love that scene. Yeah. That was like one of my favorite shots of the movie because he's just standing there at the bus stop. It's a long straight road, middle of nowhere, field behind him, and just because it's like this winter snowy landscape, it just looked so cool. It was one of those moments where I just like, I want a print of this to put on my wall.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all these police cars and SWAT teams and everything are all pouring down both sides of the road towards him, and they've got him. And I'm just sitting there like, bravo. We didn't need to see everything that led up to that moment, because we've seen it before. Our brains can fill in the blanks. I also thought that with when Lee Harker is learning, because at each crime scene there's a coded message written in some kind of gibberish, like strange symbols, and she is given a cipher directly by Longlegs for her to work out the code, and so she eventually learns his alphabet. But again, we don't see that happen. It just, the next crime scene, there's a letter, and she looks at it and she puts it down, and then just starts translating it on a piece of paper next to it. And it's like, whoever it was, the guy next to her is just like, how do you know that and everything? And yeah, it's cool. Like, again, your brain just fills in the blanks. She spent time learning the code and memorizing the alphabet and stuff. So yeah, I thought the editing and pacing of the film was just outstanding. The fact that we didn't, just left out things that we didn't need to see. But yeah, so Nicolas Cage, like when you first finally see his character, and like, how do you describe that look? I mean, that was really something.
I mean, based on Bob Dylan, as I found out afterwards.
Yeah, interestingly.
Which I'm just so sick of Bob Dylan being everywhere at the moment. There's like multiple movies being made about him, and then
really?
People are talking. Yeah, there's that one with Chalamet, and where he looks like Billy Joe Armstrong.
Yeah, of course.
And I was reading about someone, and I can't remember if it was a director or an actor, but they're in another film about Bob Dylan. I'm like, why? And then all these interviews with people, and they talk about how much they like Bob Dylan. So I can't get away from it. But I did not know he had a show persona thing at one stage where he wore white paint on his face.
That was news to me as well. So yeah, Nicolas Cage has been given sort of, I wouldn't say heavy prosthetics, like it's some light prosthetic work to make his face kind of puff out and his skin look kind of like, I don't know, not wrinkly, but sort of like it has a lot of lines in it and stuff. And yeah, like long, disgusting grey hair and everything. And then, yeah, so he's got this white sort of powdery makeup on his face as well that just... But the thing with his character, and the thing that terrified me so much, is that was the scariest depiction of insanity I think I've ever seen in a film.
I was just going to say, the scariness is nothing to do with the look.
No.
It's just him himself, the way that he speaks and sings and yells and everything.
Yeah, and the things that the irrational things that he does and says, like, nothing that he says really kind of makes any sense, and that is terrifying. I thought, because like Kylie was saying to me on the way home, like, who would you think is crazier, Longlegs or the Joker? And I was like, ooh, okay, good thought. And I thought I would go with Longlegs because...
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because the Joker, like, yeah, okay, he's insane, but, he sort of has an element of rationality to him. He kind of comes across as sort of a normalish person, whereas, Dale Ferdinand Cobble is just, so unpredictable and freakishly terrifying. So, bravo to everybody who made that character happen, because... that is a guy that will give me nightmares. I know for some people it's Freddy and stuff.
Interesting story. I sent you the video. I don't know if you watched it yet, where Osgood Perkins was talking about Nicolas Cage, and not only just like how great his performance is and how he knows how to like take it right up there without going too far, but then he said the guy who was doing all the sound. And it had 17 microphones in the room or whatever. And then he came over to him and was like, "Oh, this is the weirdest thing. I've never seen anything like it before." And he's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And when Nicolas Cage was doing his scenes, when he went up and yelling, he went right up as high as you could go without blowing the sound on the microphone.
Wow.
Like, to make it unusable audio.
Yeah.
And then when he does all the whispery stuff, he'd go right down, but not too low. He knew exactly the range that he had to go
right.
to do his performances.
That's so cool. So as far as the third act, so now we can discuss exactly what's going on. So it turns out in the film that Longlegs is not even a killer himself, really. Like, he is kind of an agent of the devil who... he's a doll maker, and so he's creating these life-size dolls that sort of replicas of the kids that they're going to, and they've got these these empty metal orbs, like silver orbs, inside the head of the doll that has like a satanic influence in it, and that is the thing that is kind of possessing, in a way, like the father of the whole family, really, to engage in these murder-suicides, which, even like now, me saying that, like, it sounds silly. It really does. And, so I guess I can understand why people might have a hard time with it, but I thought it really worked. I mean, because why not? It's a movie. It's essentially a horror movie, and horror movies, the writers can just flex their imagination and do whatever they want. So I had absolutely no problem with the ending. Like, what were your thoughts on all of that stuff?
Yeah, it was interesting, and it was a lot to think about with the ending, especially the very final scene. It would be good to watch again, knowing the stuff about the doll for her and everything, and how that relates. I'm still have the kind of questions about some of the things related to the doll being shot and the final scene and everything. So, but it was interesting.
Yeah. So because that's the thing. Like, you find out why Lee Harker has her psychic ability and everything is because initially, back on that day where she first met him, Cobble had tied her mother up and was looking at doing something with Lee, but then the mother said, "Okay, look, spare my daughter and I'll work for you," essentially. And so she was given the task of dressing up as a nun and going around to these families with the doll in a package and saying it was from the church, like a gift from the church, and she would have to stick around and watch these murder-suicides taking place, which is so fucked up. And so, there was a doll of Lee that did have the ball in its brain and everything. And there's a scene later on when everything's coming together and Lee's finding out what's going on, and the mum aims a shotgun at her doll, blows its head off, blows the sphere apart, and you sort of see like a black mist coming out of it, and Lee passes out. And then when she wakes up, she's more sort of normal, like she's a different character. And so, I thought all that was really cool. Like, that just, added a really cool element to the story. And then, of course, you find out that Cobble's been living in her mum's basement this whole time, which was like Man, that is even more mind-blowing because the basement door was locked and everything, and it's like, even as a child, like she would have grown up with Daddy Longlegs living in the basement. But yeah, that was one of the creepiest scenes that for Kylie and myself was when Harker gets to her mum's house, like to investigate, and she's got that female cop in the car with her, and so she gets out and she goes into the house and she's looking around, and then it goes back to the car and you sort of see out the cop's window, like out the back, you see the mum approaching with a gun, and it's just like, oh shit, like this is really bad. And then it goes back inside the house when Harker's walking around, and you just hear the first shotgun blast, and you're just like, oh no, at least I didn't have to see that. But then, of course, Lee goes to the window, opens the curtains, and you see the mum just stalking around to the other side of the car, aims the gun inside the car, and goes bang, and there's this blood everywhere. And it's like, that shot was so subtly scary, I thought. Like, well, did you get the same impression from that shot?
And then we got the poster image of Micah. So it's like context for that, the way she's got her hand over her mouth and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. There were so many subtle moments in this film that were, just scarier than so many things I've seen in actual, like, standard horror films. But yeah,
and then fun things like when they went to the barn, and then the camera's just looking at them, the camera's inside looking at them in the doorway, and then they walk forward to start exploring, and the camera's still sitting there looking out through the doorway where they came in, and you're like, something's going to happen. And it just sits there, and then it just switches to them walking around, and nothing happened.
I know, it was geniusly
Although,
made.
I did see, I don't know if you saw the thing about all the hidden, apparently there's about 15 hidden devils that put in the film, and I saw a few of them, but I don't think I saw 15, so I'm going to have to look for more.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I'm definitely going to have to try to check that out because, I love it when that sort of stuff happens.
Did you notice any of them?
No, I don't believe I did.
I feel like you would have. The, like, black shape with the horns?
Oh, well, yeah, that was obvious. Like, that wasn't really hidden, though.
Well, there's 15 of them. Sometimes they're just in the background. So, like, some of them are really obvious, but obviously there's more if there's 15 of them that turned up. I don't think I saw that many of them.
Well, there's another excuse that I need to see it again. No, that jump scare I was talking about before, I can't actually remember where it was, but there was just a moment where Harker just has, like, a vision, but just of freaky shit with this loud noise and just disturbing imagery. It just goes for, like, a second or whatever, but oh my God, I did not expect that. And yeah, it's probably going to get me again because I can't remember exactly in the film where it was. So I'm going to be sitting there the whole time like, oh shit, I know it's going to be
one
around
thing
here
I found weird that kind of got explained by the ending. Did you think it was weird when she's at her house and she goes outside and then sees someone's actually in her house and goes back in and finds the envelope he left for her, and instead of going, oh, this guy just broke into my house, she just sits there and starts looking at it and doesn't even care?
I did, but I just thought, like, that was just showing how ballsy she was. Like, I kind of... Yeah, no, I did wonder that because, so halfway through the film, like, there's a scene where she's alone in her house. She sees somebody outside. So,
I think that was another devil in the woods.
And then there's a knock, a loud banging at the door. And so she goes outside, but she's got a gun. So, it's not like, oh my God, you idiot, you don't go outside in a horror movie. And then, she turns around and she sees somebody moving in the house, like going down a hallway. And so she goes back inside. And that's when she sees the letter that Cobble gives her that has the cipher and stuff. But like you said, she doesn't, go and see if he's around. She doesn't even really
look around. She just
sits down and gets to work. And
just opens the envelope and starts looking at stuff. And I'm like... why? But then at the end, I'm like, okay, I guess because
she's under that influence kind of thing. Like, No, I think there's so much more to the film than is on the surface. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I did read a
Um,
review from someone randomly online saying that they liked it a lot more the second time, I guess, because,
mm,
the first time it's all new to you and you have all of that, but then the
mm,
second time you have knowing the ending, you can look at things
yeah,
differently at the
yeah,
start.
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I can't wait to see it again for that reason. Now, were you surprised as fuck when Cobble killed himself in the police interrogation room?
No, but
Oh
I
really?
mean, well, I wasn't thinking about it. Nothing about the film was predictable, so I
Yeah,
just was
that's true.
seeing where it was going.
Oh, it shocked me because yeah. So in that scene where she meets him for the first time and is interrogating him a little bit and everything, and he's just talking freaking gibberish about birthdays and whatnot. Yeah, there's just a moment where he gives her the clue that there was an accomplice and everything, and then yeah, he just says "Hail Satan" and then just starts smashing his face into the table. And I loved that makeup work. I mean, that looked incredible. Like his nose was gone, probably inside the face. I don't know, but yeah, that was just that. I mean, that's the sort of thing. Like that stuff rattles me. I'm sitting there. I'm just like, oh shit, I didn't expect him to do that. Like, and now look at him, and oh wow, okay, the main antagonist of the film is now gone. Like, what the hell? And I didn't see it coming. The twist about how the mum was working with him. Like,
Ah, no way.
no, that was. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are like, ooh, how can you not see that coming? It's so obvious, but you guys suck. So yeah, no, there was
Well,
a
actually,
lot
that's
of
one thing.
thrills
I
and
haven't
twists.
seen anybody do their reviews of, oh, I saw that coming, like you see
Right,
with
right.
some movies. And I'm
Oh,
like,
every movie.
surely no one. I don't know.
Mm,
I'm not sitting there trying to think about
exactly.
things while I'm watching a movie. I'm just
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
story going with it. So I wasn't really thinking too much about how it could all fit
Yeah.
together.
Oh, the same. Even when they're blatantly saying there is an accomplice, audience, she's working with somebody. Like I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, who could it be? I'm like, oh, right, there's an accomplice. I bet we'll find out who that is later on.
Oh, and did you notice that when they're playing the video of him and everyone's standing around in the room and he starts, oh, what? I can't remember the thing that he's saying. But anyway, and then he's like, and you were there, and you were there, and he's pointing at the people who were there at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah. That. Oh
That's
man.
good.
Oh god, I need to see this again.
Actually, there's one disappointing thing about the movie, and that was Kenan Shipka's in it, and I didn't know she was in it,
Oh
and
right.
she has a very small role,
Very small. Yeah, yeah,
but she
yeah.
does get to talk weirdly and say some strange things,
Yeah,
which I don't
yeah.
know if that was meant to be like a known thing that she was saying, or she was just talking weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll pay more attention on the next viewing, but
Oh, well, no, it's not anything I know, but the way she just started talking and the stuff she was saying was so weird. I'm like, is that a thing that she's saying, or, is it just gibberish
yeah,
stuff?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
she
No, I
was
can't
had
remember.
like you know, like a dialect, or the way the words were was not.
I don't know what that was anyway. Yeah. Ah, there you go. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that was it. Just the way she was speaking, it just made me wonder if it was something she was reciting because of the way she was talking, but it could just be
Yeah,
just a weird thing.
yeah, yeah. No, I can't quite remember, but I'll
Something
definitely be.
about happy is in the peaches and something.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
remember now.
yeah,
Because she talked
yeah.
a bit normally at the start, from memory. I think she was speaking normally at the start, and then she started saying all this weird stuff and weird words, and I don't know. But I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if she was just talking nonsense or if it had some kind of meaning.
Yeah. Well, we will find out on the next viewing, but yeah, look, overall, like I mean, God, this movie gave me so many things I love to see in a film. We had, a detective film. Well, it's not really a serial killer film, but we had like
Well, I mean,
creepy
you
criminal
don't
sort of
know
a
until the
character.
end.
We had like, devil worshipping horror stuff at the end. We had like, yeah, oh my god. No, this movie gave
I
me
was going to
everything.
say about the supernatural thing.
Mm.
I do. Well, I don't know. I am in two minds. I did wonder if sometimes, you know how sometimes if you think a movie's something and it's not, it can be a bit disappointing. And I do wonder if, because everyone was talking about Seven and Silence of the Lambs, people went into it expecting just a straight serial killer thriller.
Like a
So
more
when it took a
grounded,
turn,
realistic sort of film.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
which I don't know if it had stayed as a serial killer film. I don't know that it would have felt quite right because Nicolas Cage was so over the top that
Yeah.
it kind of works more for supernatural. But
Completely
yeah,
agree.
I do wonder if that's why some people maybe aren't into it. I mean, obviously some people just aren't into like devil stuff in their movies, so there would be people that it's just that reason that they didn't know that's what they were getting. I was talking to a girl at work and she didn't know anything about it. She just went to the movie because her friends were. She's the one I told you about that was into horror, but after she had her baby, she just finds it harder to watch horror now. But she went to that not knowing, and she grew up Catholic, so
Okay.
and she also finds dolls creepy. So she,
Whoops.
so yeah, she had fun with that one.
Yeah. No, I completely think that I would say the majority of people who were put off by the ending were probably those people who were expecting that it was going to be a more grounded, realistic sort of a film. Because it did go pretty balls out towards the
kind
end.
of the thing with Perkins, like this is similar to his previous films. Like it's weird. He apparently is not a horror movie fan. Like watching, he doesn't like watching horror movies, but he's so good at making them.
Yeah, and he's a Mr. Bungle fan, so we will forgive him for
Yes.
that. So
That's like a lot of people who act in horror movies. Brad Dourif doesn't like horror movies.
Yeah,
So it's just
exactly.
really interesting when people will act in movies but they're not into them, which is a little bit sad. I don't know why. It doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
But whenever I really like an actor and I find out they don't like horror movies, I'm like, oh, that's a bit sad.
Yeah, damn it.
So it's a little bit sad to, know that Perkins is not really into horror movies. But
every time you find that out, you're like, well, there goes that person's chance of ever ending up with me. Now, as far as, like, what do you think of the very ending of this film? So, Lee Harker goes to her partner's house, who he's the final victim sort of thing. The mum's there with the doll, and it's the daughter's birthday, 9th birthday, and so he gets up with his wife. They go into the kitchen.
Funny scene.
Winds up stabbing her to death. Comes out, Lee Harker shoots him. The mum pulls out a knife and is like, hail Satan, whatever. Harker shoots her own mum. And then there's that weird moment. So she grabs the daughter by the hand and she's like, okay, come on, let's get out of here. And then she's looking at the doll, and then it cuts back to her and she's just sort of staring at it, and then that's it. And it's like, whoa, are we going to have a sequel here? Like, what do you reckon?
Well, she was trying to shoot the doll.
Yeah, that's right. She was trying to shoot the doll, but
then I
for
was
whatever
just
reason,
like,
the gun jammed.
The gun's not going, and I'm like, did she run out of bullets? But I don't think it's that. I think it's like she's still sort of being controlled, so it's not letting her shoot the doll. Mm-hmm. Because she also didn't shoot the doll earlier. I'm like, don't wait for the guy to take the wife into the kitchen and do all of that. Why didn't she shoot the doll straight away when she knew that the doll was doing the things?
Yeah,
but then her mum shot the doll that was her, so how is she still being controlled? So I'm still working on figuring out the ending. I'm like, did she run out of bullets, or
I don't
is there
think she did.
something stopping the gun from firing? Because you're hearing the click, click, click.
Yeah.
But it's not firing.
Well, no, but I don't think she actually pulled the trigger. I think there was a click, but I think it was like, I don't think she actually quite
Really?
pulled the
I'm
trigger.
pretty sure I heard like 3 clicks of the gun.
Okay, again, something for the next screening. But, okay, say tomorrow you woke up and Osgood Perkins announces that there's going to be a Longlegs 2 Electric Boogaloo, how would you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I'm happy for any Osgood Perkins movie to come. I don't know how you could do a sequel because it wouldn't be the same without Nicolas Cage.
Mm,
It wouldn't be
yeah.
Longlegs then,
Yeah, you couldn't even
really.
call it
So
that. The Longlegs Chronicles. Look, the only way that I would be
I
happy if
wouldn't
an,
I wouldn't be wanting one. But then I mean that's like It Follows does not need a sequel,
no.
but it's getting one like 10 years later, and I can't help but be a little excited just because
Yeah.
that is such a different movie.
Yeah, yeah. The only way I'm going to be happy if another Longlegs movie gets made is if it is a
Prequel.
prequel. Yes. I need
There was
more
a thing
Cobble.
online about what band did he used to be in? Because,
Right,
you know,
right.
and so everyone's going like, oh, well, it must be some kind of glam rock thing, or maybe he actually was in T-Rex, and so
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
really
right.
funny
Yeah, hey, who
people
knows?
having these ideas.
Yeah. But no, I would love a movie with his backstory and how he became the way he is. I would be so happy with that film.
And it would be set in the 70s, so,
It would be,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
that's always a good thing.
Yep, exactly. So that's the only way I'm going to be happy because, yeah, I don't think, I think it's a self contained story that has a bit of an ambiguous ending, but, you know, yeah, just that's up to the viewer, whatever they want to believe, kind of thing. All right. Well, I don't know about you. I don't really have much more to say about the film, other than I absolutely loved it. It is easily my number one film of the year so far, only because I have not yet seen Deadpool and Wolverine, but that one does have a very strong chance of taking over that spot. But yeah, so Longlegs may have been my number one movie of the year for like a week and a half. But, you know, it shined in that week and a half.
I mean, I'm curious to see how it goes because of your reaction. I know it's on a higher level, but I do remember Talk to Me last year. You were like raving about it when you came out of the cinema and how much you felt it and all of that. And then I think in your top 10, it ended up being like number 7 or something, like a lot lower than I expected
Well,
from the
there
way
were
you
just
talked about it.
better movies, yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, well, see, that's the thing. Like, yeah, like I said, Talk to Me, it got me in past. I actually haven't seen Talk to Me again since it came out, and I mean, Kylie and I bought the most deluxe box set imaginable that actually has a replica of the hand
To
and a
another
steel
reason
book
why I
and
was
all this
confused it wasn't
stuff.
higher because you bought like, yeah, that instead of just
Yeah.
buying the movie, you
Oh,
went
we went
full
all
on.
out, yeah. But we did actually sit down to watch it again one night, but I think Kylie was asleep within about 10 minutes, and so we stopped it. So we did try to watch it again, but we haven't actually gotten around to it. But
Well, yeah, it's interesting because I saw A Quiet Place day one, like what, a week or two beforehand, and that went straight into my top 3. And then I watched Longlegs, and that went straight into my top 3. So I'm like,
nice.
oh, I'm on a bit of a roll now. Considering for a while I was thinking that, you know, while I've seen some good films this year, there was only sort of one or two that were like really amazing, and then suddenly I just had 2 new films in this short space of time
Yeah,
just take
yeah.
2 spots of the top 3. So
I think also
we'll
for me
see. There's still
personally,
some big movies to come out for the
when you
rest of the
think
two.
when you think about it, like, okay, so I'm the sort of person who, you know, Seven is my number 2 most favorite film of all time ever made. It always will be. So in that respect, it's probably no surprise why Longlegs appealed to me so much because, you know, was it it had similar threads. You know, it definitely wasn't by any means a similar film, but there were elements that were similar. So yeah, like Longlegs, I think that is a movie. The first opportunity I get to watch it again, I am absolutely 100% sitting down and checking that one out again.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get there again this weekend, but the Olympics starts this weekend, so I suddenly will have no time.
Fair
So
enough. Well,
I don't know. Well, I can go on Saturday because, you know,
Mm.
there's like the opening ceremony at like 4 a.m. and then nothing until later in the day. So
Right,
I
right.
might try go see it on Saturday.
Fair
before
enough.
I struggle to find time for movies.
Well, it looks like we might actually be going to see Deadpool and Wolverine on Saturday night. So, yeah, but I will kind of be quietly sitting there thinking to myself, man, Longlegs is probably playing in another cinema just a few doors down. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, cool. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around and listening to what we had to say about Longlegs, which I still think is the silliest name for a movie like this. But
That's so
hey,
good.
yeah, exactly. Oh, that was the other thing. I love that it's never explained why he's called. I mean, I know he says that line like "I've got my long legs on today," but
Yeah.
you
I was
don't
talking
know.
to the girl at work, and she said it, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about it. But it's because when you're a kid, he's so tall because of his long legs. So that's why he bent down.
I never even thought of that. Yeah, okay, yep, all right, that'll make sense. I sound like an idiot now, but there you go. You
I
sound
didn't think
smart,
about it till
so-
she said it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Cool. Now, if anyone wants to let us know what you thought of Longlegs, you can find us on social media, on Facebook and Twitter at Dan _ Frankie, or you can email us at Dan and Frankie podcast at gmail or outlook.com, or look, just if you just Google the names, you'll find some way of getting in touch with us. And so yeah, you can come and let us know what you thought, or you can find us on Letterboxd as well. We're on Letterboxd, so you know, you can comment on our reviews if you want. I don't know, just come and talk to us because we're lonely, man. We need friends. Yeah, no, we don't. Especially if it's your birthday. No. All right. Well, yeah. That was fun. I enjoyed talking about that. Do you enjoy talking about that?
I did.
Good stuff.
It's a very good movie to talk about.
Oh yeah.
It's just
no, we had
it's
to
just
do
a
this
bit
one.
sad that you can't say much without spoilers.
Yeah,
When you
I
just
think we did
really
it.
want to talk about it. Or you can,
did, like,
but you
20
you
minutes
can't
of
really
talk without-
get into the
Yeah.
meat of it without
Hey, at least
talking about all of it.
at least we had 40 minutes of spoiler talk, so you know it wasn't just like we could only do non-spoilers. So yeah, at least we
Yeah.
had that. So that
Yeah,
was
that's the fun of these standalone episodes
good.
is
Yeah.
you can just be like, go away if you don't want to hear anymore. Come back after you've watched it.
Exactly. All right, cool. So yes, I was going to say if you guys haven't seen Longlegs, go see it. But honestly, if you've just sat through the whole spoiler section, yeah, that was kind of a silly thing to do. But yeah, anyway, like I said, come find us. Let us know what you thought of it. In the meantime, stay safe, watch lots of movies, and bye for now.